Using rhetoric, demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop.
A shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas has politicians talking.
And it's what the FBI is calling a targeted attack.
Also in this town, it's the first murder in a decade. Tonight, well, we're learning about the Waterville man being charged with strangling a woman at a nursing home and the new information about the facility that we just found in previous reports.
And the brave fight against breast cancer. We hear from family and friends who share one woman's story and her warning to those who ignore the early signs too late. Welcome into WTOL 11 Plus now, Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan's only live local streaming newscast. I'm Dan Cummins.
And I'm Jeff Smith. Great to be with you. Tonight we are asking the question, how old should your kids be before they get a cell phone? That's the question tonight. This conversation is one that many parents might be having after a third grader called 911 here locally and falsely reported a gun at his school. Here's Michael Sandlin.
In an age where the dangers of the internet lurk around every digital corner and real-world ramifications can come from a prank call, what's the right age for a child to have a cell phone? It's a question parents at the Wildwood Metro Park playground say they've wrestled with their own kids.
Absolutely. I toyed with it for probably a year before I even made the decision.
That's Janice Stevenson and her daughter Juliet. Juliet is about to turn 8, and Janice says she's decided it was time for her daughter to have a phone.
I wanted her to have it for safety and for us to be able to know where she is and to be able to contact the proper people if need be in an emergency situation.
But across the playground, I spoke to Derek Canales and his 2-year-old son, Makeo, and he says he and his wife are in no rush.
Cell phone will probably be later when he's doing any kind of independent sports to where, we can leave him at the field, somewhere like an emergency situation where he needs to reach out to us. But we kind of want to stay away from electronics while he's younger and just let his imagination grow.
To get a professional's take, I spoke to the Willow Center's clinical counselor, Erin Wiley, who says she understands why this is such a hard question for parents.
It's super tricky because as a society, we are so dependent on phones, and as adults, we expect now more than ever to be in touch with anyone at any time.
But Wiley says that expectation comes with some issues.
I think what we have to keep in mind, and this is hard as parents, is that they have baby brains. They are not small grown-ups. I would say a good rule of thumb for kids, I think a lot of parents now who are recognizing this are saying 8th grade.
But Wiley understands in a world where after-school events start young, that's not always an option. So she says in the meantime, parents should look into the parental control features on their kids' phones so they can moderate the experience until the kid is ready for more.
You can just pre-program 3 numbers and they aren't able to call anyone else. There's no technology on there for them to get on the internet.
So we're hearing a couple of different perspectives as far as this. It comes around again and again when we have stories like this. But how lock, stock, and barrel are those opinions, you think, of those parents you talk to?
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's what I really asked them. You heard the one set of parents who said, hey, we wanted to give our kids a phone early. You heard the other set who said, hey, we're going to wait as long as possible. Neither of them were 100% set on those answers because they say, look, it's going to depend on how my kid grows up. If the mom who gave her daughter the phone early says, you know what, she shows me that she's not ready for it, she's willing to take it away. For the parent who said, hey, I'm going to wait as long as possible, if there's a situation that comes up where he needs it, he's open to it. And I think that's kind of where all parents are at, where there's just that need for flexibility, but also that's where that frustration comes in too, where there's not one set answer.
So we had Matt Geha, the superintendent for Springfield Schools, been there for some time. He said we have a set goal as far as safety standards are concerned, but he re-emphasized, and you were hearing and putting this story together, you said, about the importance of children. And in this case, we're talking about a third grader, maybe 9, maybe 10 years of age, understanding the seriousness of 911.
Yeah, that's something that the clinical psychologist, Erin Wiley, that I spoke to said as well. She said, hey, look, this is something you got to emphasize at home from a really early age. 911 puts a strain on all kinds of resources, whether you're calling the city or putting the county. Those are people's lives who potentially could not be saved if you put in a false call. So they're saying If you give your kid a phone, that's something they need to know way beforehand. That's something that needs to be really, beaten into them, that they process that. And additionally, we were talking about, what's going to be the punishment. The superintendent was saying, look, this isn't something we're going to press charges on, but this is something we're going to talk to the parent about. What's the punishment going to look like at home? What's the punishment going to look like at school? Because these kinds of things, they don't fly. They don't want the kids' life to be ruined with a charge, but they also don't want this to happen again. So I kind of want to throw this to you, actually, Jeff. I don't have any kids, but you have a few of your own. When you were, thrust with this question when they were growing up, at what age did you feel comfortable giving them a phone, and do you still kind of wrestle with that to this day?
We lived in the south part of town. Our daughter went to a downtown Toledo school when she was 11. So that was a must for us to have that contact point. Obviously, school districts over the last year we've seen, in fact, what the state has implemented as far as rules are concerned with cell phones in the classroom and what they're doing. So times have changed, things have changed, and my other two kids, once they found out their sister was getting a phone at 11, obviously put the pressure on us as well. So it's a continued, I guess, as you said, and you found out from those parents, it all depends on the circumstances. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Kaylee, back to you.
Right now, we're tracking the stories making headlines across the country and around the globe. Jimmy Kimmel was back on air last night, even though some stations still chose to not put him on people's screens. Ukraine President Zelensky addressed the UN today. He talked about his meeting with President Trump, who has since changed his view on the war in Ukraine. Also shutting down, this is what the U.S. government could do if a resolution does not come soon. But first, a shooting at a Dallas ICE facility is being called a targeted attack by the FBI. Homeland Security says a gunman shot 3 detainees at an ICE facility in Dallas, then the gunman killed himself. Homeland Security says the shooter fired at the facility and at a van parked outside. At least one of the victims died. The FBI is calling this a targeted attack against ICE. FBI Director Kash Patel posting a photo online on what he says are the suspect's unused shell casings, one with a handwritten message that says, anti-ICE. This is the third attack at a Texas immigration facility in the past few months. We're a week away from a potential government shutdown, and people responsible for striking a deal to keep it open now say talks are off. President Trump canceled a meeting with congressional Democratic leaders originally planned for tomorrow. The president says Democrats are making ridiculous demands in exchange for their votes to keep the government funded. The president says there could be a meeting in the future, but he says that's only if Democrats become realistic about what the country stands for.
We must use everything we have together to force the aggressor to stop.
Ukraine's President Zelensky referenced a good meeting with President Trump in his remarks this morning at the UN General Assembly. The remarks follow Zelensky sitting down with President Trump on the sidelines of the forum. After the meeting, Trump appeared to make a major shift, posting on social media, "I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form." But experts say they're waiting to see whether action to help the country end the war will follow.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Jimmy Kimmel took the stage for the first time last night since his nearly week-long suspension, all because of the comments he made about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. In his monologue, Kimmel took aim at his critics, saying he felt lucky to live in a country where he could speak freely. He thanked supporters who united against efforts to censor him. However, he was still on the air in some cities. Two major station groups, Sinclair and Nexstar, said they would not air Kimmel's show. They represent about a quarter of ABC affiliates.
All right, still to come, Spider-Man nostalgia. The original trilogy is heading to theaters. Find out how you can catch some of these special screenings.
Don't ignore it like I did. Don't ignore, don't run. Go fight, go face it.
Also, friends and family remember Patty Gray and continue to tell her story of fighting breast cancer. Chris?
Looking ahead to patchy, dense fog into the morning Thursday. We'll preview that in my hour-by-hour forecast coming up next.
Welcome back. The city of Toledo is taking big steps to protect the drinking water. Faith Zahowski, she shows us what it means and when work is supposed to start.
A major project aimed to protect the city of Toledo's drinking water is in the works. The city is partnering with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for an estimated $13 million project. This will connect a planned 1 billion gallon reservoir and replacement raw water main lines, which supply water from Lake Erie to the Collins Park water treatment plant. The city tells us 75% of the project will be covered by the federal government, and Toledo will cover the remaining 25%. The city says this will be constructed in 2029. The city is holding a press conference today at 1 to officially sign on the partnership and give more information on the project. I'll have the full story for you at 6.
Well, actually, you can find more on that story on our WTOL 11 YouTube page as well as WTOL.com. And we want you to, there's an invitation to you to check out our social media platforms for breaking news, weather impact, and of course the stories that people are talking about.
Who am I? I'm Spider-Man. Great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, there have been so many of these films, but the original Spider-Man trilogy is returning to the big screen. The first series of web-slinger films starring Tobey Maguire will be back in theaters. Fans can relive the excitement during the weekends of September 26th through October 3rd. Was this a franchise you enjoyed ever? Do you like superhero flicks?
Not really.
Not today's, but like we go back to the comic era. All right, and maybe even when Christopher Reeve came out as Superman.
I watched Christopher Reeve as Superman on TV, but no, I really haven't gotten into any of those. I like the first 3 Star Wars, but I've lost interest in that.
Never got into the Star Wars. A little bit of Batman for me. I think I was in that age group when some of those movies were coming out.
The Michael Keaton or the Chris Nolan films?
I think the Michael Keaton ones,
yeah. The originals.
Originals, but yeah, I wasn't huge into them either.
So hashtag money grab for all of this.
What's your spidey sense on the amount of rain we're going to be getting?
I like that one.
Well done.
See, thank you very much.
That's what you get on WTOL 11 Plus now.
Yeah, the extra treat there. Yeah, depends where Mother Nature has cast the web of rainfall. I suppose. Let's take a look at things across the area. I do have a little bit of light rain that still is occurring across southern Michigan, but I can show you exactly where we've had the heaviest of the rainfall, and that has occurred for several locations. Now I'm going to stop out there toward east of Toledo at this point, and we're looking over toward Fremont. So here's Fremont, just east of Fremont, Clyde, Green Springs. Indications are you had about 1 to 2 inches of rain in this area, right up across State Route 53, close to about 2 to 3 inches of rain, and then out toward Port Clinton. I think you had a couple inches of rainfall that came down in a short amount of time this afternoon. Toledo Metro, much of this fell while you slept early this morning. It was about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rain, so it was significantly lower across the metro, but just north of the metro up into Monroe County. Look at this, 2, 3, even up to 4 inches of rain estimated out there on Doppler radar. It was a soaker across Monroe County. Most areas are in the 70s where we got rain-cooled air. It's in the 60s from Oak Harbor, Fremont, Port Clinton. Upper Sandusky coming in the upper 60s, low 70s, Toledo and west, where some sun is peeking through the clouds. Do have some fog that will be potentially out there tonight into tomorrow morning, so the bus stop forecast. Let's watch for any delays where that fog may develop. Mid-60s into the early afternoon, low 70s, and largely it is going to be a dry day. And it will take till well after midnight for that fog to develop. And take a look toward tomorrow morning. Visibilities could range from 1/2 mile to 1 mile. And depending on where we get some of that dense fog, this doesn't guarantee a delay at all, but it does show that fog is a possibility as we go through our Thursday morning. Could take us till about mid-morning, 10 o'clock or later for some of that fog to actually lift across the area and visibilities to improve. So there's that morning fog. Maybe around 6, 7, 8 a.m., even through about 9 a.m. Clouds are going to begin to lift. We'll rise into the lower 70s as we get into the afternoon. And then that's going to set us up looking already ahead to Friday, our big board Friday forecast, 72 degrees toward kickoff time. Another outstanding Friday night. Dip it back to the upper 60s as we go after dark and into the second half of our football games. 80 degrees Saturday and into Sunday. What season is it? Remind yourself it's the first weekend in autumn. Mostly sunny skies, lower 80s into Sunday. Sunshine will be bright, and it will be a gorgeous morning for the Toledo Race for the Cure that you're going to see. You can catch it here on WTOL 11 Plus and on WTOL 11 if you can't make it downtown yourself to actually join in on the festivities. 76 on Friday. There's your 80-degree temperatures into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And look at how bright the sunshine may stretch into early next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Once we get through the next 24 hours, we may go again another 10 days before we see a chance of any rain. That's a look at your 10-day forecast. Jeff, back over to you.
Now to a story of love, loss, and one powerful lesson.
Yeah, Toledo family shares their mother's battle with breast cancer, not just to honor her, but to also spread the message that she wanted to share most, which is don't wait.
Patty Gray was the heartbeat of her family. A woman who loved camping trips, dancing in her kitchen, and cracking a good joke.
Quick, witty one-liners. Always had a response, which is probably where we get it from.
She was the life of the party. She loved to dance. She loved to gather people together.
But in 2017, Patty noticed something wasn't okay with her. A lump, a warning sign she kept to herself.
A doctor right at her bedside said, "You knew about this lump, so there's no ignoring. You tell me right now how long you've known about this." And that's when she said, I did know about this, and it's been about 1.5 years.
By then, it had already spread to her bones, lungs, and lymph nodes. But Patty's silence, her family says, wasn't just fear. Just 6 months earlier, Patty suddenly lost her husband of 41 years, Bob, the love of her life and the anchor of their family. She was grieving, and she didn't want to add to her children's pain.
She was trying to save them from more hurt. Now was not going to be the time to tell them that I found this 1.5 years ago or 1 year ago and I'm not going to do anything or I haven't done anything. I think it was a way to protect her boys.
That decision meant by the time she spoke up, it was too late for early treatment.
She just always thought, next week I will, procrastinate, put it off, the fear, the anxiety.
Patty faced grueling rounds of chemotherapy and immunotherapy. Her family says she never complained. Instead, she focused on what mattered most: her children, grandchildren, and especially her son Jason, who has Down syndrome.
That's all she worried about.
Yeah, I know.
Was take care of Jay.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Be nice to see her again.
It'd be nice to see her again, yeah.
Through it all, Patty stayed positive, even recording messages for her family to hold on to.
I love everybody.
Everybody loves you. So if I see tears, am I supposed to yell at them and say she said no tears?
I don't want no tears from nobody. Just know that I love you.
Doctors once told her she might only have months, but Patty gave them years.
It was like a weight lifted once we left that last appointment.
Yeah, she was hilarious. You could almost see the weight lifted off her shoulders.
Patty's life ended with one regret: her silence. In her obituary, they made sure her final words to the world included the lesson she learned.
The family asks that you take the time to do a monthly self-breast exam. If you find something, say something. Please, in fear, do not stay quiet. That's her legacy.
That's why they're telling her story today, not to focus on what cancer took away, but what her words could give back.
She's holding your hand up in heaven. She's guiding you and she's telling you, don't ignore it like I did. Don't ignore, don't run. Go fight. Go face it. Go get the help that you need.
Patty Gray may be gone, but her message lives on. Her family hopes it will inspire others to listen to their bodies, speak up, and seek care before it's too late.
That was Melissa Andrews reporting. This Sunday is the Susan G. Komen Northwest Ohio Race for the Cure.
The annual 5K run and walk raises money for breast cancer research, treatment, and patient care here in Northwest Ohio. Survivors will be honored with a parade, and families can enjoy kids' activities and a celebration of hope. WTOL 11 brings you live coverage Sunday morning from 8:30 to 10:30. It is the first murder in Waterville in over a decade. More about the murder, the investigation that all took place in a nursing home.
A man who scammed older adults for years in Northwest Ohio has been arrested. We're learning more about his arrest tonight.
Thanks for being with us here on WTOL 11 Plus Now.
Here's a look at some of the local stories we are following tonight.
We start with this one out of Waterville, where a man has been charged with murder. Roscoe Gilmore was arrested after being accused of strangling a woman to death yesterday. This happened at Heritage Village, a nursing home in Waterville. Court records show that Gilmore and the victim both lived at the facility. He is expected back in court on October 2nd. The last murder in Waterville was in 2013. That's according to our previous reporting.
11 Investigates learned that a man accused of scamming older adults in Northwest Ohio and beyond has been arrested. A patrolman from the Rockyville, Indiana police said David Broadway had been taken into custody by U.S. Marshals Task Force today. The patrolman added Broadway had been arrested in the Indianapolis area on several felony warrants out of Indiana, Ohio, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. Our team is working to learn more about Broadway's arrest. We're so glad you're here on WTOL 11 Plus. Thanks for streaming with us. And while you're here, have you checked out the other exclusive streaming content on WTOL 11 Plus? This week on Good Day after the show, Fred Lefevre joins Amanda to talk about the work the Buffalo Soldiers are doing now.
Buffalo Soldiers is one that you mentioned and one that is near and dear to you. You've been with them now, you said, what, 7 years?
I think 7 years for me. The group's been around much longer than that. And like I say, we do anti-bullying, gun safety, what to do when stopped by the police, which is a really important class for kids, emergency preparedness, which we do both for kids and for senior groups, and the history of the original Buffalo Soldiers formed after the Civil War.
Yeah, which
so
is
we're out there doing
big
a lot
piece.
of stuff.
Yeah, and I think this is great because as you just get online, Google Buffalo Soldiers, and I think your mind will go, whoa.
Oh, you'll see the history. It's
incredible. Really is. And but then the projects, now how many decades, hundreds of years later, when you look at what you're still doing in the community, just in a little different way,
right?
It's still making a huge impact.
And so many of the members are either ex-law enforcement or ex-military.
Yeah.
And law enforcement people would tell you this, and military people would tell you this. There's a sense of service that you get when you do that. And when your service ends, you still have that in your heart. You still want to get out and make your community better. You still want to serve in some way, shape, or form. And so that's why all the Buffalo Soldier MC clubs all across the country, very involved in their communities, feeding people, clothing people, all those kind of events.
Yeah, let's mention that too, because Veterans Day, November 11th, Buffalo Soldiers delivers
we
meals to
partner
vets.
with about 20 different restaurants locally, and we can always use more. In fact, we just added, I talked to Dina Villa over at El Tipico restaurant, the Mexican restaurant. Dina's going to prepare some taco meals for us, and we will go out and deliver meals to the veterans who are shut in, who can't get out to a restaurant to get the free dessert or the $10 off or whatever it is. And if you just go to ToledoBuffaloSoldiers.org, you can sign up for that. Let us know where you're at. We do a lot of the senior homes because there's 4 or 5, veterans there. We talked to one veteran one year who was 100 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, 100 years old and still kicking.
Yeah.
And he
stories?
was just, some of these guys just want to talk.
Yeah.
They just want to talk. They don't even care about the meal.
Sure.
Spend some time with me, and that camaraderie that comes with it.
Which is great that you're able to do that for them too. So if you know someone, know a vet who needs a meal on Veterans Day, make sure you get connected with the Buffalo Soldiers.
Catch Good Day after this show, streaming next in about 3 minutes right here on WTOL 11+. A college cheerleader in Missouri had something extra to cheer about over the weekend. She returned to the sidelines after recovering from a serious car accident. 7 months ago, 18-year-old Macy McCabe's car crashed head-on into an ambulance in Clinton County. Doctors said she might not make it through the night. But on Saturday, there she is, flying again. Macy kept her eyes fixed on the ultimate goal, cheering at Lindenwood University's first home game on the team that never let her go of her spot while she was in the hospital.
That is a reason to smile, definitely. Wow. Well, Chris, let's talk a little bit about the concern for the morning. Once again, we've had a few of these mornings.
Yeah, I highlighted this earlier the week on Monday. Said we're going to get several mornings this week with the potential of fog. Thursday morning, tomorrow morning being the next morning where we could wake up to visibilities below a half mile. Could happen again Friday morning. So back-to-back mornings, it could have delays. Highs in the mid-70s Friday, 80 on Saturday, low 80s on Sunday, and dry, beautiful weather. Race for the cure, and all next week.
Yeah, the forecast for Sunday looks spectacular.
Can't wait.
Hope you check us out Sunday morning. Race the Cure, 8:30 to 10:30. Thanks for watching.